Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Wealth and Wellness Report podcast. I am Diego, your host, and today I want to talk about the hidden crisis that we find in real estate and how burnout plays a huge role in the way it plays a huge role in so many different ways. For people who get burnt out in their businesses, it impacts their family, it impacts their livelihood, it impacts their pocketbook, their finances, impacts all the things. So I want to get right into it. Because I've also experienced burnout in my life and in my businesses. It's just something that I think we all go through if we're extremely passionate about scaling and growing and building an empire. You know, there isn't balance. You got to go hard and you got to build hard, and sometimes you burn out. So today's episode is going to be a conversation about burnout and business, particularly within the real estate space. So let's get into it. I'm going to give you the hard truth about burnout in real estate. And it's not the Instagram version. It's not the motivational quote version either. I'm talking about the business truth that almost nobody in this industry wants to admit. Once you see what I'm talking about and what I'm going to tell you, you can't unsee it. You can't unhear it. And I think that's a good thing, because the moment you see it, you can start to fix it. And once you fix it, everything in your business changes. And I want to start with burnout and how burnout in real estate is not emotional. It's not a personal flaw. It's not because you just need to meditate more or take a weekend off or get better at self-care. I think burnout in business or burnout in real estate is a business systems failure, period. And until you fix the business structure underneath you, no amount of rest or self-care or mindset work or vacations is going to save you. It's not because you're not tired. Your system is tired. Your structure is tired. Your business model is tired. And so you're carrying the entire weight of your business on your back like a pack mule. And let that land for a second. You're not burned out because real estate is hard, even though it is. I would say it is hard. Real estate is difficult. But it's not. You can't point the finger. Don't hate the player, hate the game. You're burned out because you're doing the job of like probably 7 or 8 people, and you have no structure. You have no leverage. You have zero operational clarity, and you're waking up every day with no predictable plan. There's no predictable pipeline. There's no predictable income. So your nervous system is constantly guessing. It's in like fight or flight mode, lizard brain. We've talked about this on a previous call, previous Zoom, previous podcast. And when your nervous system is guessing, your mind is stressing. And when your mind is stressing, your body ends up collapsing on itself. And that's burnout. And that's why almost every agent or real estate investor or business owner hits the wall at some point, because the real estate industry teaches agents how to sell. It teaches investors on how to deploy their capital, but not how to build the business. They will teach you scripts. They will teach you sales tactics. They will teach you the contracts, but nobody actually teaches you the systems, the delegation, the operations, the automation, the lead pipelines, the financial structure, the workflow design, the business modeling, the architecture to the organization, the client experience, and all of those frameworks. And without those things, you're not a CEO. You're a freelancer and you're chasing checks. And freelancers burn out. And when you're chasing checks, it's like a drug. You just need that dose every single week. And CEOs don't. They don't. This is where the hard truth comes in. Most agents or investors think they have a work ethic problem. They think they need discipline. They think they need motivation. They think they need a mindset shift. No, that's not the case. What they need is a business infrastructure. They need modeling. You can't out-discipline a broken system. You can't out-hustle freaking chaos. You can't outwork poor design. When your business is built on chaos, burnout it's absolutely guaranteed. There's no exceptions. And here's the deeper truth in all of that. I think most agents or investors, they don't have a business problem. They have a problem with capacity, meaning you're doing everything yourself, like the lead gen. That's you. The lead follow-up. That's you. The showings. That's you. The scheduling. That's you. The marketing. That's you. The social media. That's you. Your transaction coordination and management. That's you. Client emotional support hotline. Maybe you're doing that too. And here's the part nobody really wants to talk about. And that's how real estate clients will take every ounce of your time and emotional bandwidth if you let them. So that's a clear boundary that everybody needs to make, because the real estate transaction is extremely emotional when it comes to residential real estate. Maybe not so much in commercial, but in any way you slice it, it's still scary. It's still high stakes. And when your clients feel uncertain, they will drain you to feel secure. You will become a therapist. And if you don't have systems and boundaries, you become the emotional sponge for every client, every deal, every inspection, every appraisal, every lender delay, every fear-based reaction. And that's not something that's really your responsibility at the end of the day. And emotional labor is real labor. It's actually more draining, honestly. This is why agents and investors think they're tired from the work, but they're not. They're actually tired from absorbing everybody's shit, everybody's emotions, and it's all day long, all week long. And if you're in the real estate space, there aren't really any days off until you build that business, that empire. But that only happens when ultimately you lack the structure that's required for you to build. When you don't have the scripted communication systems, when you don't have a client journey template, when you don't have an automated update, when you don't have expectation setting or any of those frameworks. Because when you don't have systems, your clients default to guess who? To you. And they default to you as the system. Isn't that something? And you are not designed to be the system. You are designed to be the leader, because you can't, and you can't lead when you're drowning either. So you got to buy back your time. You got to restructure things. You got to redesign the way. And here's another hard truth with real estate agents and investors and their burnout. Their income is extremely unstable. And unstable income is the fastest way to fry your nervous system. Not only do you have to care about all the things, but when are you going to get paid? Imagine telling your body, hey, we're going to run a business with unpredictable cash flow, unpredictable hours, unpredictable clients. That's crazy. Unpredictable deals and pipeline. We just don't know when the next thing is going to show up. Unpredictable timelines on those files and unpredictable outcomes ultimately. And we're going to depend on it for, what are you guys paying? You're paying either rent or mortgages, food, survival, and you wonder why you're stressed out. Your nervous system is freaking screaming. And the only way to calm it down is to replace randomness with systems, predictable systems, systems that are consistent and systems that generate leads, whether you feel like working or not. Systems that follow up with clients, even when you're tired, while you're sleeping, the system is working. And systems that manage tasks so your brain doesn't have to 24/7. Relinquish power to the system. Systems that keep the machine moving so you don't have to burn out to keep the doors open, to keep the lights on. And here's where we get into the root cause of all of this. Agents, and this is important. Agents are taught to chase production, and they're not taught to build infrastructure. So they build a business that relies on panic and not on process. And that panic, is addictive, believe it or not. That panic feels productive. It feels urgent. But panic feels like you're hustling. And panic is a terrible business plan. Panic leads to burnout. Burnout leads to inconsistency. So you see where I'm going with all of this? And inconsistency leads to income dips. It's all interconnected. And income dips trigger more panic, and that panic leads to more burnout. It's like you're on a hamster wheel, this perpetual hamster wheel, and you're not ultimately accomplishing what your true desire is, your ultimate goals. It's a cycle you don't even realize you're in until you're so exhausted, so overwhelmed, so resentful, and you're wondering if you should quit real estate altogether. This is the same for construction. This applies to construction 100%. But there's some good news in all of this because it's completely fixable. So if you're in this space, you should listen to this. Burnout disappears the moment you fix the system underneath your business, that foundation. What does that look like? I want y'all to listen super closely because this is the part that separates the pros and the amateurs, those who scale and then those who quit. Because burnout goes away when you introduce the predictability into your business, that predictable lead flow, that predictable follow-up, the predictable marketing and operations, predictable scheduling, predictable communication, and ultimately that, guess what? Turns into predictable money, predictable activity. Predictability is the antidote to burnout. And predictability is created by those systems, that architecture. So let's break down the systems that we all need in this business. And first, you need a real lead generation system, not randomly posting on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or LinkedIn or whatever social media platform you're on. It's not door knocking when you feel like it. That it doesn't work that way. Not prospecting for like 2 days and then disappearing for 3 weeks. And we're all guilty of that. Super hard to be consistent, but that's what winners do. They stay consistent. You need a machine that brings in the leads every week. And that machine must have multiple channels. You have to create the content. You have to prospect. You got to be touching base with all of your partners so that you get referrals. Those partnerships are instrumental in success. When one channel slows down, the others will keep feeding the system. That's planned redundancy. That's intentional. And that's how you stabilize income. That's how you stabilize confidence. And that's how you stabilize your nervous system at the end of the day. And that's, I think, the most important, because then once your nervous system's stabilized, then you can stay consistent that much more because of the strength in your mind and body. And you need a follow-up system too, because here's the truth. Most agents don't have a lead problem. They have a follow-up problem. Have you ever called an agent and they just never called you back? I guaranteed you those agents are losing money because they can't generate leads, and it's because they can't keep up with them maybe. They're just so flooded that they don't have a system to call people back. And why? Because they have zero systems in place. They probably don't have a CRM or routine with that CRM. They don't follow up on any kind of schedule. There's no templates. There's no automation. There's no tracking. So leads fall through the cracks. And then guess what happens? Your business disappears. And then the panic sets in. And then next thing you know, you need, therapy, and for God forbid, you go to drugs and alcohol and you start messing with things in that regard. You need an operation system. This is the boring stuff that saves your life. The templates, the checklists, the automated sequences, the weekly planning rhythms. If I asked you, what are your top 3 actions every Monday morning that move your business forward? What do you think most business owners would say? Most probably couldn't even answer that question. And that's the problem. When your week doesn't have structure, when your brain has to constantly make decisions, and constant decision making drains your mental battery faster than anything. You have operational burnout. It's not emotional burnout. Next, you need a financial system. Agents and investors, they burn out financially because their income fluctuates constantly. And it's, like I said earlier, it's all interconnected. And the reason it fluctuates, it's not, you can't point the finger to the market. It's the lack of predictable lead flow or a lead system and a predictable financial plan. So if you had reserves, if you had a tax bucket, if you had a marketing bucket, if you had an emergency buffer, your nervous system would instantly relax. Money stress is nervous system stress. They're completely tied together. Have you lost sleep because you don't know when that next paycheck's coming or when that next deal's going to close? It happens, and it fucks with you. Next, you need a delegation system. This might be painful to hear, but you're doing too much, way too much, and you already know it. You're doing $10 an hour tasks when your brain should be focused on $1,000 an hour tasks. Those activities are what moves the needle. So buy back your time. Delegate those tasks to an executive assistant, to a VA, to a partner, or somebody who's in the business that can work on those items. You're editing your own videos. You're writing your own emails. You're managing your own files. You're sending reminders. You're a glorified assistant. If you don't have one, you are one. You are doing all of the back-end jobs that a VA or an EA or some other type of assistant or administrative person can handle. And because you're doing everything, you're doing nothing at your highest level. You're not fulfilling your higher power and what that requires. I want you to hear this. You're not burned out because you're weak. You're not burned out because you're doing the job of 5 other people. Your business is overwhelming because you've built the team to support it. Your team is everything. And if you haven't built that team, then they're not going to support it. Even a small team. even just one VA, even like a part-time assistant that you can work with maybe once a week. Figure out how many hours a week that is. You're carrying the weight of you're carrying the weight of either a 6 or 7 figure business on your shoulders all by yourself. And nobody was built for that, at least not long term. It can't be sustained. And next, you need a client communication system. And if you don't establish communication expectations from day one, then clients will assume you're available all the time, 24/7, Monday through Monday, 7 days a week. And why? Because you've trained them that way. And you need to untrain that, unlearn that. You need structured updates. You need the templates for the check-ins. You need frameworks that prevent the clients from overloading you and draining your mental bandwidth. That's the boundary that you need to build. Burnout is often just boundary collapse. It implodes. Install the right boundaries, and suddenly your energy returns, and finally you feel at peace. And I think this last bit is really important because it's all about the content and the content system, because content isn't optional. It's got to be leverage, and content is your brand, and content is the trusted scale that you create online. You're digitizing your reputation, but content without a system becomes crazy. It becomes crazy. And like, what do I post? What should I record? Do I have the time? Is this good enough? Content stress is real. But when you systemize content, you have a topic list, you batch the days, you're filming rhythm, you're editing the process, you're posting the schedule, you suddenly become a machine. But more importantly, the team that you've created, that team is the machine. And machines, they don't burn out. People don't burn out when they become people burn out when they become the machine. The machines don't. AI isn't going to want to take a break and take a lunch or ask for a raise or call in sick. All right, so let's bring this all together, because burnout in real estate isn't about effort. It's not about the hustle. It's all about it's not about your personality either. It's about your mindset. It's about one thing, and it's running your business without the systems that a business requires. And when the business doesn't have systems, guess who becomes the system? You become the system. And when the agent becomes the system, or the investor becomes the system, the agent burns out always. So the solution is simple. Stop. It's that simple. Stop operating like a solopreneur or a solo agent or a solo investor. Stop operating and start operating like a CEO. Build the system, build the structure, build the pipeline, build the operations, design it, be intentional. Building those boundaries and building the team and building the content machine, that's the way. When you do that, your nervous system will begin to calm down and your income becomes stabilized or becomes more consistent. Your confidence will rise. That's huge. Then you can take on more workload, and your existing workload becomes way more manageable. Your energy will return, and that's key. Having energy every single day, and your business becomes sustainable. But I would rather use the word regenerative. Your business now becomes regenerative. It's only getting better through time, because sustainability keeps it here. And that's how you fix burnout. You don't fix burnout by taking the day off. You fix burnout by designing intentionally a business that doesn't require you to burn out in the first place. So here's the final truth. Burnout is not your fault, but ending burnout is your responsibility. And the moment you decide to run your business like a business, everything changes. It's like a light switch. So if this episode hit home for you, send me a message with the word CEO, and I'll show you the exact business structure I'd install if I were rebuilding your real estate business or your construction company from scratch. We can do a whiteboard sesh, we can jump on a call, and I can show you some baseline architecture for business operations. Because you deserve a career that grows you, not drains you. And that starts with business architecture ultimately, not more hustle. But if you've got that hustle spirit, that's going to absolutely help you at the end of the day. That's the truth. Now let's get to work. I want you to get to work because, I'm here to pour into as many of you as possible and to help grow as a community. And going deeper is always better because we're only scratching the surface, and agents are always burning out. Investors are always burning out. There's another layer here that most people never talk about. And it's the real killer. Burnout doesn't just happen from the overworking, like I mentioned earlier. It comes from underperforming relative to your potential. Listen to that. You're not burned out because you're not doing much, or you're not doing too much, I should say. You're burned out because you're doing too much of the wrong shit, all of the wrong things. And that's the truth nobody really wants to acknowledge at the end of the day, which drives me insane because it's all over social media. It's like, it's everywhere. And when you're constantly busy, but nothing is truly moving forward, that's going to be really hard, and it's not sustainable. That drains you faster than working hard ever could. Being busy without being effective is spiritually exhausting. It chips away at your soul. It chips away at your confidence. It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you question, whether you're even built for the industry or for entrepreneurship. I think the ultimate goal of entrepreneurship is not the development of your products and services, but more importantly, the development of the soul, of the spirit, of the entrepreneur, of the individual. Otherwise, you burn out. And that kind of burnout is devastating because it attacks your identity. And identity burnout is the hardest to recover from. It's not the physical burnout. It's not the emotional stuff. It's existential. And that's super hard to bounce back from. And I think here's why it happens. Folks are focused on the activity, not the architecture. Remember that. I want to drive this thing home in all of your heads. It's all about the architecture, the design of your operations. They are focused on the momentum. They're focused on the motion, not the momentum, because momentum is huge. And they are focused on the tasks, not the systems. They're stuck in the weeds instead of building the ecosystem. And so think of your business as an organism. Everything's interconnected, and they need to work off of each other. Multiple elements supported by multiple functions, and multiple functions supported by multiple elements. And we don't need you carrying the entire workload. We need you structuring the business. You're holding the business together with sheer willpower, and willpower is a terrible long-term strategy ultimately because it'll crack, it'll break, and it'll burn you out. Let me give you a direct example here because I think it would be helpful for everybody to hear that most folks, agents, investors, whomever, CEOs, business owners spend their entire day reacting to things, reacting to their texts, reacting to their leads, reacting to their clients, reacting to fires, putting out fires, reacting to the market, reacting to emotions. And the truth, and here's the hard truth, reactive businesses create burned out teammates, burned out agents, burned out investors. And proactive businesses create powerful CEOs, powerful business owners. CEOs don't wake up and say, I wonder what chaos we'll deal with today. They wake up and say, here's the plan. Here's the priority. And here's what's going to move the needle: full of intention. They operate from intention, not reaction. And intention is what protects the energy. So if you're running an organization and you're the team leader, let me tell you something else that's destructive. Folks will lie to themselves. They'll lie about how real estate works. They'll say things like, this business is unpredictable. The markets are wonky. No, it's not unpredictable. It's, because your systems are unpredictable. It's because you don't have structure and you haven't designed an organization that can withstand a pandemic, that can withstand market fluctuations, that can withstand tariffs, supply chain issues, whatever it is. It's your actions. They're inconsistent. They say this business is too stressful and you opt out and you quit. Real estate is not unpredictable, or construction's not unpredictable. Documented workflows are predictable. Constant marketing is predictable. A CRM pipeline is predictable. Weekly follow-up rhythms are predictable. A VA handling admin tasks is predictable. A content system is predictable. And proper financial structures are predictable. The market will move in cycles. We all know that. Whatever goes up comes down. It's inevitable. You may not know the day or the hour of what happens, but you can absolutely see the trends. And if you have pattern recognition and you have the ability to see the macro picture, you're going to be way further ahead than others. The only unpredictable factor in real estate, or in most real estate businesses, is the teams that are running it ultimately. And I know this might be tough for some of you to hear, but I promise you, it's the thing that will set you free. When you internalize that burnout, it's a byproduct of the disorganization, and it's not the byproduct of your destiny. Everything opens up. Suddenly burnout becomes solvable, manageable, fixable, because you're not fighting yourself anymore. You're fixing the systems around you. Let's talk about another huge burnout factor, and that's content inconsistency. I started shooting content this year consistently and every week on here. And no matter what, I don't care, rain or shine, sickness or health, life or death, I'm shooting. And agents, they know they need content. They know content builds brand, trust, authority, and demand. But they approach content emotionally instead of systematically. They get in their heads. It's that ego brain, the lizard brain. They post when they feel creative. They disappear when they feel overwhelmed. They start strong and then they fade for 3 months. There's a lot of people that I'm sure you know that can attest to this. And then when they wonder why content feels stressful, well, duh, it is stressful. The human brain was not designed to generate ideas and record videos and edit clips and write captions and post consistently on a high clip every single hour of every single day and run a business, especially all at the same time without a system. Yo, that's crazy. You need a content machine. You need a batch day. You need a pipeline, a clear focus, a posting rhythm. That's how you remove stress. And most agents will spend 6 hours scrolling TikTok, but won't spend a single hour building a content workflow. It's insane. Think about that. Everybody wants to consume content, but nobody wants to create it. So are you a creator or are you a consumer? Are you a winner or are you a loser? And that's why content feels exhausting, in my opinion, because you're treating it like a hobby instead of a system. Let me tell you another hard truth, because this might hurt your feelings. The reason content burns you out is the same reason your real estate business burns you out. You have zero structure supporting you. That's crazy. And when there's no structure to support you, you become the structure. You become the system. And you become the editor. And that's ridiculous. Did you go to school to become an editor? Did you become an artist to do real estate? What about marketing or the scheduling of your content? Are you the communicator? You must be the engine now. and engines overheat. That's burnout. So shifting to delegation in the burnout is super important, because this one is, it's a monster problem in every industry. Everybody refuses to delegate or has a hard time delegating. They tell themselves, I can do it faster. I can do it better. Why give it to somebody when I can do it better? I think if you can give it to somebody, that's 100% awesome. 80% there is 100% awesome. Well, maybe I don't want to pay somebody. Here's what they don't realize. Not delegating is costing you way more than delegating ever will. Your time is worth $1,000 an hour, remember? And your energy, that you can't even put $1 on that. Your energy is priceless. And you're burning both on tasks worth $10. Think about it. That's not frugal. That's idiotic. That's financially irresponsible. That's egomaniacal. You cannot scale a business while doing everything yourself. You cannot maintain a stable nervous system while juggling 40 roles. You cannot create consistent income while living inside of your inbox. Every day, it's like a drug. I need to get on my phone. Who emailed me? Who texted me? You can't live like that. You can't build a system like that. You can't build wealth like that. You'll be drowning in admin work for the rest of your life. CEOs don't do that. CEOs delegate. CEOs outsource. CEOs create leverage. CEOs scale themselves through people and systems. They know the right player for the right job. The reason agents or investors or business owners or entrepreneurs burn out is because they're trying to be the CEO and the admin and the marketer and the transaction coordinator and the therapist and the social media content creator and manager without any of the systems. So it's time to engineer all of that. And that's entrepreneurship. Engineering all of that, designing all of that, building all of that. And nobody wins from doing shit work, $10 an hour tasks and building a 7 to 9 figure business. Get yourself in those rooms and you'll see, and build those boundaries, because boundaries are business infrastructure. Most agents, investors, or entrepreneurs have burnout. They also have boundary collapse, and burnout happens when you never close that emotional loop. Remember that. You're answering messages all day long. It's ridiculous. So being able to delegate in your business, not sending that offer at 10 p.m., delegate that. Not going to that showing at 6 a.m., delegate that. And by doing that, you're drawing a very clear line in the sand that you're not available 24/7. And a nervous system that is always on will inevitably crash. Think about that. You're stressed because you have no off switch. Boundaries create the off switch. Boundaries are not rude. Be the good person. Don't be the nice person. Boundaries are structure, and boundaries are operational systems. And boundaries tell your clients, more importantly, I operate professionally. This is not some Mickey Mouse organization. Boundaries tell your nervous system you're safe. And boundaries prevent burnout long before burnout ever begins. So I want you guys to take that home and really, really, really implement what I'm saying here, because it's going to improve your livelihood, your well-being. Here on the Wealth and Wellness Report, we always talk about how to build wealth wisely, intentionally, without losing yourself in the process. Wellness is instrumental and completely integrated into your business operations. It has to be. I'm not asking you to create balance. I'm asking you to integrate. Balance is for business owners that have no idea how to run a business, because there is no balance ever when you want to build a 9-figure business. So kind of want to leave you guys with that. I appreciate everybody listening to the show today. It really hit a strong hard chord for me this morning before jumping on here and talking with everybody, because we all like to try and stay busy, but is your busy moving the needle? Is your busy going to be building that business that you ultimately want to either exit or pass along to the next generation? We talk about burnout. And burnout is not exhaustion. Remember that. Burnout is the destruction of meaning. You're not just tired, you're completely disconnected. Okay? You're disconnected from purpose, and you're disconnected from control. You're disconnected from the progress. You're disconnected from the results. And burnout says, I'm doing all of this, and for what? There's a bigger why here. The Mount Everest, the sunset on the horizon, where you want to go ultimately, that deeper question, that deeper understanding, that deeper meaning of why you're doing what you're doing is the most important. And to eliminate the chaos will eliminate the hopelessness. And hopelessness is what creates the burnout. And the burnout creates the desire to quit. So I appreciate everybody for listening. I really do. This is another episode of the Wealth and Wellness Report podcast. I encourage you guys to please, it really helps me out, click the subscribe button either on Spotify or YouTube. Y'all can find me on Instagram and Facebook. I'm on TikTok and LinkedIn too, pretty much all the social media channels. I'd love to talk to you about your business, some of the challenges that you might be going through, whether it's real estate or construction or something else. And really looking forward to seeing everybody on the next episode. So stay tuned. Thanks again.